Hey, it's Tyler, host of the Tyler Knows Everything podcast, where the nose is crossed out because I always want to learn more. My guest today is a USA Today Bestselling author. She's self-published over 20 books. She's super interesting and highly intelligent. And she's also a highly subscribed to YouTuber, puts out a lot of content about how to become a self-published author and lots of useful material on social media marketing and branding. Please welcome Courtney Young, Lyra Parish, and one half of Kennedy Fox.
Tyler
knows
everything.
So love me like you do, 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 touch me like you do, touch me like you do.
All right, everybody, we're here with Courtney Lyra Kennedy. It's three people all in one, but there's actually just one person here in the studio. Well, you did bring your husband, Will. And so the challenging part about this podcast will be to have me and Will in the same room with each other and not talk to one another. But we'll get an update later on where you've been the past couple days. But let's go over the three different names.
Okay, so Courtney.
In real life.
In real life, that's my real name.
Mm-hmm.
Lyra Parish is a pen name. It was the very first pen name that I had. Created it back in 2013. Solo name. And then Kennedy Fox is a romance duo. It's me and Brooke Cumberland that write underneath that one pen name together.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking, is that Kennedy Fox was two people.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's exciting too. It's kind of like a team. And the origin story of how you got involved in writing is like super random.
It is.
So tell me about how you got started.
It is very random. So me and Will, the Deep Sky dude, shameless plug. We were hiking.
Episode 9.
Yeah. There you go. Let's just plug him. So you can find him on YouTube, Facebook. Twitter, he only has like 50 followers, but I mean, you can do that too. And Instagram. You
know, Twitter is such to go into astronomy, Twitter is kind of like a black hole in Southeast Texas. Twitter is big nationally.
It is.
And on the celebrity level. But around here, it's mostly Facebook.
Yeah, it is mostly Facebook and Instagram. I find a lot of people are on Instagram.
Yeah, the younger crowd is on Instagram for sure.
That's what they say, but I'm like, I know a lot of like.
Are you finding grandmas on Instagram? Yeah.
No, but I mean, they say the younger people, but then we're like 30s,
right,
and they're like, but they're old. 30-year-olds are old, so it's just the 20-year-olds, and I'm like, yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of people my age on there, so.
Yeah, and I went to high school and college with zero social media. And now I'm fully immersed in it. And so I'm in that Generation X, borderline millennial. Yeah.
I knew Facebook before old people could have it.
Mm-hmm. When it was just
for college students. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so back on your...
back to it, yeah. Mm-hmm. So we were hiking, and we were in Hodges Gardens. It's no longer a place. It was in Louisiana. And we walked down this trail, and it was the Chestnut Tree Trail. And there was this historical marker, and basically they talked about how this tree came shipped from Chicago on train. And then, like, I turned around and I was like, oh, my God. Like, I could just see, like, where the house would have been and where, like, the dirt road would have been. And, like, this entire, like, story kind of formed in my head. And when we were walking back, I was like, hey, Will, I think I'm going to write a book. And he's like, you don't write. I was like, I know. Isn't that so crazy?
Did you have any other creative hobbies at the time?
I did theater.
Okay.
So I did a lot of theater in high school and in college. Mm-hmm. But no, that was probably my only hobby that I had at that point. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, I think I had an iPhone, 3, before iPhones had 3 cameras. Remember those days, kids?
And it was curved.
Yeah, it was really small.
It's tiny.
And
have you ever ran across
one? I have.
And it looks so bizarrely small.
And when you look at the screen, it's like all pixelated and stuff. And you're like, we thought this was like state of the art.
And now it's 4K.
Exactly.
How much did a 4K TV cost back then, if they even had it?
$1 billion. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that day I decided that I was going to write a book. And I started writing, and I struggled a lot. Like, I couldn't finish anything. I would get to about the 20,000 word mark, and my creative juices would just stop.
Yeah. And so I've seen you on social media talk about, I'm writing 10,000 words by this. I have a deadline.
Yeah, in a day.
It's hard for me to quantify words in physical form. So say like 20,000 words, like how on a book scale, how much is that?
Okay, so
like if we had
this book, you can't use this one. This book is like 100,000 words, and
okay.
this book is like I think it's like 70 or 75,000.
Okay.
So I would say if we were doing 20, a quarter of this would be 20,000.
Yeah. Okay. And I would say these are kind of like your average size books that you would see on the bookshelf. So they're around 100 to 75,000.
Yeah.
words.
So our books, the Kennedy Fox books range from 65,000 to 130,000. So people are like, oh, how long are your books? And I'm like, we've got a book at every range.
Yeah.
We have books that are 15,000 words,
okay.
So 20,000 words. It's I don't know what it is. I think it's that point when it's like, oh wow, I'm really doing this, and I really have to pay attention to what I'm doing, and you can't just like BS yourself through it.
Yeah.
So it was like I can't get past this mark, so I would start over, and I'd get back to 20,000 words, and I'm like, I'm not ever going to be able to finish a project. And so NaNoWriMo came up. If you're not familiar with what NaNoWriMo is, it's National Novel Writing Month. It happens every November. And people all over the world get together and they try to write 50,000 words. And so I think it was like the week before NaNoWriMo started. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know that people did this and it was a thing. I was Googling writing contests, because I'm competitive and a contest motivates me. And so I was like, writing contest, NaNoWriMo. Oh, I think I'm going to join this. It's free. It's a nonprofit organization, and they help kids with literary things. I don't know. I should have probably found some more out about NaNoWriMo. But anyway, I signed up and I wrote 50,000 words.
Oh, wow.
In 30 days. That's the goal. 50,000 words in 30 days. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my God, I wrote a book. I finally wrote it. I have been trying since it was like March of 2011 to write a book. And in November, 50,000 words.
And we usually say writing, but it was probably typing, right? And had you moved from your phone yet to?
Yes. Yeah. So still to this day, I will type ideas and stuff in my phone and my notes. Like if I showed y'all my notes, you'd be like, this girl has a lot of stuff in here. But typically, back then I had a little crappy laptop, moved up to the MacBook world, and I mainly write on my MacBook, but I do write on my iPad with a wireless keyboard now as well too.
Yeah.
Zero distractions.
I was surprised that do many writers use Apple products to write on? Because the tactile sensitivity, there's not a lot of clacking or travel, right? Mm-hmm. It's more of like a button.
Yeah, I'm biased. I'm a Mac user, so I'm going to notice more when people are using Macs compared to not.
Yeah, they're great for creators.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people do use them because there's specific programs for writers. There's this program called Vellum, Vellum, for any of you people out there who are listening that like to write. And it helps you format your books. And it's not for Windows. And so you can make this beautifully formatted book with Vellum, and Windows users have to use clouds and stuff. And so, and plus Photoshop, I know that you can use it on a Windows machine, but it performs really well on Macs.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's a lot of writers, I believe, that use Macs. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I'm biased. So
yeah, sure. Well, tell us how you got into the first published book.
Oh, so...
And you can add in anything I skipped over.
We can go back to the year of 2011.
Yeah.
So beginning of the decade, basically, guys. Remember 2011? Going into 2020 now. So
have you done a decade challenge with your books?
Oh my God.
That would be a really good post.
I should do that, but it would have to be 2021 because that's when I really started writing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but 2011, I finished the book. I won a publishing contract with a small press, and spoiler alert, it didn't work out. So I decided after I wasn't going to publish my book with them. I was writing young adult at the time. Mm-hmm. Now I write romance specifically, that's all I write. And so I decided, after a year of kind of sitting on it, 6 more months passed. I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do something else. And I had a friend who was very successful self-publishing in the romance world. Mm-hmm. She was making USA Today, New York Times. I mean, and this was crazy back in 2013. And she was like, listen, Courtney, you need to be writing romance. All of your young adult books have this underlying romance element. Like, what are you doing? And I was like, you know what? You're right. I'm going to write a romance book.
Yeah.
What do I have to lose? I don't have anything right now.
And so you had a legitimate publishing company that wanted you to write a book for them.
Yeah.
And that's the equivalent of like someone who's in the music industry, getting that first record deal and being like, no, I don't think I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it on my own.
Yeah. A record
which is different
I mean, it's equivalent to that, but the company that signed that book was shady.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a company that, I don't know, like, I felt like after seeing more behind the scenes of how they ran their business, I was like, you don't have the author's best interest in mind that you're signing. Yeah. And I'm not going to give you this work that I like. I mean, I wrote 50,000 words in 30 days. I worked really hard for it. By the way, I did not write in chapters.
So it was just one long
It was one
chapter.
really long. I don't know why they signed that, honestly. They should have read it and been like, yeah, no. So I had to put it into chapters. I had to do a lot of work on it. And anyway, I decided that I wasn't going to publish with them. A friend was like, you need to write romance. And so in the summer of 2013, I was thinking about it, mulling it over, listening to NPR, heard the story about the girl who sold her virginity on eBay. And I was like, oh my God, this would make a great romance book.
Yeah, it's a crazy story.
And so I just was like, I'm going to go with that idea and wrote.
Do you remember if eBay allowed that transaction to go all the way to the end?
I think they did. NPR covered it. You can still find articles on it. Like, I tell people that story now and they're like, I Googled it. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I think that it fell through. Like, it didn't actually happen, but the transaction, like she really sold it.
Yeah, because she could have done 5 days, 3 days, 7 days.
Yeah.
So it could have snowballed faster than they could have picked up on it.
I'm like, now in 2019, would they really allow that to happen?
Oh, it would be shut down instantly.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They'd be like, yeah, no, this is like prostitution kind of.
Yeah.
But I wrote the book and I published it in January, self-published it, had a cover designer, hired my own editors, had no idea what I was doing, learned how to format a book in Word. That's how the old school people used to do it. And
like Microsoft Word?
Yeah, Microsoft Word. It's crazy to try to figure out pages like on books because you've got like left side, right side. Like,
oh, that's right.
It was hardcore. Vellum saves lives. Mm-hmm. That's all I gotta say. But I published that book. It went well. I made all of the money back that I had basically invested into it in the first week. And then the second one released in March. And I think I published like 8 books in the first 2 years.
Wow. And so that first one, was it online and physical?
Yeah. Yeah. You could get it in paperback and you could get it on Amazon. It was everywhere. It was like iBooks, Barnes & Noble.
What name did you publish that first one under?
It was under Lyra Parish.
Oh, okay. And what was the name of that one?
Week for Him.
Week for Him. Okay.
Week for Him.
And that kind of sparked a series, right?
Yeah, it was a trilogy. Okay. It was always planned as a trilogy. It was the Weakness series. Mm-hmm. You probably will not be able to buy it on Amazon because I'm removing all of my books like within the next few weeks, and then I'm going to rewrite and republish them. So they will be removed soon. Just because I was a different writer back in 2013, 2014, I've had a lot more experience. So I feel like I could make those books a lot better.
So as you mature, your works are maturing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just decided, that I was going to do a trilogy, and I wrote the first book and the second book, and then I kind of had like burnout writer's block. Mm-hmm. And then it took me, I think it was another 6 months to write the third book and publish it. Which traditional publishing standards, that's not very long.
Yeah, right.
So.
And for any entertainment thing, movies, look at how long they take to make, and TV shows and things. So when we talk about the bestseller of USA Today or Amazon, what does that encompass?
Oh God, he asked me the The Amazon bestseller question. Ooh. Okay, so USA Today. USA Today is a list that is for U.S. sales for authors. It's the top 150 books that are sold in the U.S. Sales overseas do not count towards that. Okay. Typically, to make the USA Today bestseller list, you need to sell over 5,000 copies in a week. The list runs from Monday to Sunday. And so authors try really hard to make that list because it's highly regarded. Mm-hmm. With the Amazon bestseller list, on the other hand, this is a title that authors assign themselves.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So when people say that they're an Amazon bestselling author, my reaction is always like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah.
Because everyone has different quantifiers for that. It's not a real list.
Okay, gotcha.
It's kind of an ego thing. No offense, you Amazon bestselling authors out there, but it's one of those things where some people say, oh, well, if I rank top 100 on Amazon, overall, I'm an Amazon bestseller. And other people say, oh, well, I ranked top 100 in my sub category, so I'm an Amazon bestselling author. And then it's just, there's no set standard for it, and Amazon doesn't assign it to you.
Oh, okay. So what do you prefer to call yourself when you are mentioning your...
So Kennedy Fox is a USA Today bestselling author.
Okay.
We've made the list 4 times. In 2017. In 2018, we were unable to qualify for that list because whenever you are in the Kindle Unlimited program or KDP Select, you are exclusive to Amazon. And so for you to even qualify for things like USA Today or New York Times, you need to make sure that you're on all of the platforms.
Oh, okay.
You just can't be exclusive to Amazon.
Yeah.
So we just put our books back on all platforms in May of this year. And so we're still working on a series that launched in Kindle Unlimited and had to relaunch it wide on all the platforms. And so it's been a little slow going, but it was a great decision. But yeah, USA Today bestselling author works.
Yeah.
You know.
And so is New York Times a completely other animal?
Oh, New York Times. It's a very prestigious list,
right.
But
it's probably one of the oldest ones that's been around.
You know, I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to research that. I feel like USA Today and New York Times are kind of around the same time period, but I could be wrong. But New York Times, they have a panel of people who choose on top of all the sales that a person gets, and they don't always like indie authors.
Right. Yeah.
And so they're like, they're an indie, we're not going to choose them, even though they outsold traditional published authors.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
haters.
Right.
I know people who have sold 30,000 copies in a week.
Yeah.
And they did not make New York Times. And that's New York Times, like, numbers. So.
Goodness.
Yeah. I'm like, no offense to New York Times. I think it's a great thing. If you're an indie author and you've made that list, like, you've made it. Yeah. But they have really, like, ripped the title from people who should have deserved it.
Do any books in the romance genre typically have an audio version? Or is that just
do.
like, oh, really?
Oh, yeah. So Audible has this program called, what is it called? It's where you can subscribe for like an extra $7 or $8 a month and listen to romance titles, like a Kindle Unlimited. So you can listen to unlimited ones that are in this program.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of romance books that are on Audible and on other platforms too, like Apple has audiobooks and other places like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of people who do it. They'll do dual narration. So then you've got like the girl and the guy's part, and it's just...
Yeah, that's really cool. It's almost like a miniature movie.
It is.
Yeah.
And they hire professional actors that like are SAG, like they've got their certifications,
right,
and like it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's much different than, you know, an author reading their own book from...
Yeah, don't do that, kids.
Yeah.
Unless it's self-help.
Right, yeah.
I'm like...
If you're already a motivational speaker, then yeah, that would make
right.
sense. But if you're just a regular, you know...
Yeah, if you're just a romance author who has no formal training, just please don't do it.
Right.
People won't take you seriously. And there are some people who are like, yeah, just do it yourself. And I'm like, do you have any idea how hard that is?
Yeah.
Like, you have to make sure that your audio is, you know, the same way every time. If someone's mowing their grass, people are going to hear it.
Yeah.
If you have people who drive down your street in loud trucks, your microphone's probably going to pick it up. And you just can't think because you have a microphone and a computer, you can perform a book if you wrote it.
I mean, I have had people ask me, because I'm a podcaster, ask me if I will read their book for the audio version. I was like, absolutely not, because it would take like
hilarious.
It would take a day, not all at once. You break it up, but still, that's a lot of hours. I'm not much of a reader, but I consume a ton of content, audio.
Right.
And so if I find a book I like, I usually do an audiobook. And I remember getting into audiobooks, and a podcast is an hour, 2 hours, maybe 3 hours if you're listening to Joe Rogan. But then you download an audiobook and it says like
18 hours.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, okay. It takes a long time to read a book. Games of
Thrones is like, what is it? 37 hours or something in audio for one book.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Those actors get paid anywhere from $300 to $600 per finished hour. Wow. Because whenever you pay someone to do your audiobook, they're editing out all their mistakes. They're giving you a final product. And so it's not as easy as like, oh, just read this, because you're going to make mistakes whenever you're reading it, and you're going to have to go back over it and go back over it. It's no.
So what about for your cover models? Are they local people? Do you know them?
Oh, no, I don't know them.
No?
Mm-mm.
Is it more professional models?
We use professional photographers who sought out these guys who have abs and take their photos and sell them to people. There's groups on Facebook for romance authors where they just post like these exclusive photographs of these people. So yeah, if you have abs, like pretty much you could make like $500 for a photo.
It's fascinating. So would they sell a photo and make sure that it's only used for your book and it's not going to show up on someone else's book?
Yeah. So these two photos that we've got on these covers, they're like 100% exclusive.
Wow.
We're the only ones that have them.
Okay.
This Taming Him book is actually set in Texas, and everybody's like, oh, where do you find those Texas guys at?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know where they exist, but
well, they're all about 22.
Yeah.
And they spend more time in the gym than work. And then they've got no kids, no responsibilities.
That's right.
That's where they are.
That's where they are. You have to go to the gym, ladies.
They're in the fun zone. They're not in the stable life, take care of your family zone.
Yeah. Well, some of these like models, like that's all they do. They're like, that's their job. They're cover models.
Yeah.
They work out. They eat right. Like they have to be fit for covers.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's crazy. These photos are not cheap. Like we've paid upward of like $850 for one picture.
Yeah, sure. Because you want it to look professional.
Yeah,
that's understandable.
Exactly.
Well, I enjoy side hustles. I think that all millennials and everyone should have their main career and then also some hobbies on the side or multiple side hustles that they can do something fun and also monetize it and have multiple sources of income. And that's kind of what you do is, you've still got your main career, but then you've got the writing. And then if your side hustle takes off and that's your passion and you're able to turn that into a full-time career, then you can transition into that.
Yeah, exactly. So, if y'all aren't aware, I have a day job and I just met my decade of being at that job. So the entire time that I've done this writing thing, I've had a full-time job.
Yeah.
Where I work Monday through Friday from 8 to 5.
Wow, yeah. And you probably don't want to say where, but can you tell us what type of industry are you?
So I'm an accountant, guys. I do accounting for the oil industry, I guess you could say, for refining.
So is it kind of like cubicle 8 to 5?
Yeah, it is cubicle 8 to 5. For a little while, I've transitioned into different jobs as I've been there. And for a little while, I was a supervisor and I supervised like 8 people. And, that was very stressful because you're not just worrying about yourself when you go to work. You're worrying about other people too, unless you're a terrible boss. And if you are, shame on you. But, so I had to worry about my employees, and sometimes I'd be at work until 8 p.m. and I'm still like doing this side hustle and releasing and writing and trying to stay on schedule. And, but recently the last 2 years I was promoted to an accounting position. And so now it's like I work my 8.5 hours or whatever, and I go home, unless it's like the closing time period. So beginning of the month, usually first 10 business days, I'm swamped. My writing partner knows that I call that Hell Week. And so, hey, it's Hell Week. I'm probably not going to get home till like 7:30.
And geographically, where is she? Close by?
She's in Wisconsin.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming y'all met on the internet, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're internet friends.
Yeah.
No, so we've met in person. We met in person before we started working together. And everybody's always like, where does she live? She live close? And I'm like, no, we just use FaceTime a lot and text messaging and phone calls. And, you know, there's a thing called Google Documents where you can share docs. And we just basically do everything on the internet. Like, there's no reason, like, because of the internet, we don't have to live next to each other to write together.
Sure.
So,
which is advice to a lot of organizations that are constantly having meetings that could be an email, right?
Oh, absolutely. Take the hint, guys.
Yeah, or a go-to meeting, you know, with the FaceTime and the PowerPoint on one screen and the person's face next to it. So, yeah. Well, I'm also fascinated by your social media marketing because, you know, I've been in sales for many years. And so I could take a lot of that training and knowledge that I had and bring it over to the podcast scene for networking and getting guests and promoting things on social media. But as an accountant, you know, and working it, you had zero social media. You're all self-taught when it comes to social media and branding. And guess who has more subscribers? It's not me. It's you. It's by far. So, you know, you're over 2,000 subscribers, like on YouTube, I think, right?
Yeah.
And
2,700, I think.
And there's certain little milestones with YouTube. You know, you have to have 100 subscribers just to have a URL.
Yeah.
I think that for monetization, it probably doesn't even make sense to do it until you get around.
You need 1,000.
Around 1,000, yeah. And you've almost tripled that.
Yeah, it's crazy because, like, I think at the beginning of the year, I had 330 subscribers.
The beginning of this year?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so it wasn't like it wasn't ever my focus. YouTube's not my job. I tell people all the time, like, YouTube doesn't pay my bills. It's just like a little hobby thing. If you're interested, it's the Courtney Project on YouTube. I talk about self-publishing and my publishing journey, but it's just something like where I can share things, and I just started updating on a schedule. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try to update at least once a week. If I'm in editing or if I'm writing, then that's not a priority.
Yeah.
And now I think, I rolled over 2,700 yesterday, I think. So
that's probably a huge offering and value that you're giving to the readers because they actually get to see you and hear you and connect with you. And you respond to a lot of them on Facebook too.
Yeah. So my YouTube channel isn't necessarily like my target audience is not my readers.
Yeah. That's more the Facebook page,
yeah.
right?
So on YouTube, my target audience is other authors. People who have no idea what they're doing,
aspiring
who
authors.
needs like guidance because there's not a lot of people out there who are like, okay, I've written 28 books and made USA Today 4 times and this is what's going on.
Yeah, and before you, I'd never heard of self-publishing and I didn't know what it was or how to even start.
Really? Oh,
And so
awesome.
I learned about it from you, and because I've always wanted to, you know, I want to have as much media content as I can push out. And I've always wanted to have a book, but I would be terrible at writing a book because, I have a lot of interesting people on the show. I don't have a lot of these crazy comeback stories like they do.
Yeah.
So I was like, what would I write about? And then it dawned on me, it was some advice that I heard from Gary Vaynerchuk. You know, once I get to 100 episodes, 200 episodes of podcasts, well, each guest is a chapter of that book, you know, even if it's just a few pages for each one. And then it just kind of all that content builds up on itself.
Yeah.
And then there's my book, and it's not about me, it's about all the interesting people. So
Gary's cool.
Yeah, so maybe one day I can get to that point.
Yeah, totally. I tell people, I'm like, you know, so many people come to me and they're like, oh, you've written 28 books or you've written all these words. It's like over 1 million words. Like, I want to write a book. Where do I start? And I'm like, you start by writing a book.
Yeah.
You know, when I started, I didn't know anything about publishing. And the internet is a different place now than it was in 2011.
Right.
You know, so you just do it. You just write. I spent months reading books on writing when I could have spent those months getting over my little hump and just writing. So you just have to, I feel like you just have to start a project and finish it. And if it sucks, it can always be revised. Always.
Yeah, sure. At some point, the most talented author and bestseller author had to write one word, and started with 0 followers.
Exactly.
And every podcaster had no episodes.
Exactly.
And so that's the main thing, is just, and that's what Gary Vee says, is just constantly push content.
Yeah.
There's going to be times where people didn't even know who he was.
Right. He was the wine guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then branches off into all these things, and you do it by staying consistent. I know other podcasters that you made it to 5 episodes, 10 episodes, and they're like, "Oh, I'm giving it up. I'm not making any money." I'm like, "You were doing this to try to make money?" Well, of course.
Yeah.
Like, look at the market. The market's saturated. You're not doing anything unique. You do it because not because like I'm going to bring this guest on and that's going to be the one that puts me over to the top. No, I just want to have interesting people come. Like, I would talk to you without microphones or cameras, but it would be weird if I called up somebody that hasn't really interacted with me and said, "Hey, can we go
Can we go have a coffee date?"
right
And be like, who are you?
to learn more about you. It makes a little more sense when you bring them in here, and then other people get the value of learning that information too, and they can listen to it while they're in the car, while they're working out or whatever.
Lasts forever.
And so hopefully I can give that to people as well. So you made a post recently that I saw that was really interesting to me, because I try to do a lot of stuff myself, and it was about knowing when to ask for help on it might have been for some of your content creation, of when to get maybe a video editor, maybe outsource a few things, because you try to do as many things as you can, but again, you're side hustling, you're main careering, you're writing. So what are you trying to outsource a little bit to, maybe provide more quality or time for you?
So what I tell people is, there's going to be a point in your career, I don't care what your career is, but if you are like a self-employed person, you're working that grind and that hustle, as the kids say, and you're just in it, there's going to be a point where you're like, I've got 24 hours in a day and I need 30 hours or I need 35 hours, because there's literally no way that I can take care of all this stuff in one day. And for me, I talk about in publishing, we have a publicist, because there comes a point when my time is better spent writing than sending out packages to bloggers or emailing people about, did you get this book to read before it was released? It's a waste of my personal time, because our money is made by producing books. And if you're spending your time doing something that's on the side that you really could probably pay somebody to do, then you do that. And for me, it's editing my YouTube videos. I want to do YouTube. I want to help people. I'm not making any money off of it. It's just a hobby. Yeah. And if I spend an hour editing a video, I could have spent that hour writing 1,500 words. You know, so it's like, if I can just outsource this and pay somebody to do it, then I don't have to do it. And then I still have content. And then I can keep writing, and it doesn't mess with my flow.
Yeah, because video editing takes an excruciatingly long amount of time, especially depending on your level of skill. It can be really long. Just sometimes when I edit a sneak peek that's a few minutes, it's probably taken me an hour for what would take maybe Zach like 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
I don't know, dude. Like, video editing, for me, I don't want any breaks. And I have this habit, and I know that y'all have probably picked up on it, where I will like pause in the middle of my thought and then I'll continue on. And when people watch my videos, I don't want that pause. I want all the pauses gone.
Right.
I want all the deep breaths gone. I want it to be just one very concise video.
Yeah.
And Will, he can contest to this. I will record the same sentence like 5 different times. Yeah. And so I'm like, I just want to make sure that my point is clear. Yeah. And so I have to rewatch it. And I'd rather just let some stranger, well, she's a stranger right now, but eventually she won't be. I'd rather let her be like, okay, yeah, this third one was the best one that she said.
So you probably don't like live very much.
It doesn't bother me.
Oh, okay.
I'm an extrovert, so it's kind of like, we can do live, but I'm going to stumble over my words. Yeah. You're going to have to get over it. It's not going to be perfect.
I like recorded better because I like to edit the pauses.
Yeah. If you watch my videos, they're like quick. They're super quick.
Clip. Yeah, that's great. Good formatting. So, and not to put you on the spot, if you could pick one of the books, and I don't even know if you could go right to the page or not, but what if you read like a couple sentences or something for us?
Oh, God.
Just to give us like a sneak peek. Which and like it's hundreds of thousands of words, so I don't even know if you could like. It would be just a random page, but I just thought it'd be cool if you read.
This
like,
is a dangerous game. This is a very dangerous game.
I'll give you a few minutes to thumb through it, and maybe you can pick anything. I mean, we're not bound by any entities here. We can.
It's. Oh man.
So why?
It's been a while, y'all.
Yeah.
These books. Okay, so this book was written in 2016, and this book was written in the latter part of 2017. So I thumb through it and I read stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, we wrote that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is. We need a funny scene. Where is that at?
So it's 2016, so it's going to be like, hey, girl, let me Snapchat you.
Hey, girl, let me Snapchat you.
Yeah.
This book starts off very...
And then the book you're writing now would be like, catch me on that TikTok.
Right? But that's where all the young kids are.
Yeah.
Isn't that what they say?
I think so, yeah. I'm not on TikTok yet. Gary Vee says TikTok is going to be the next big
He
thing.
does. I have a TikTok.
But I don't know if kids are my podcast fans, so
I mean, they could be.
Yeah.
You know what? I think maybe the prologue will be the safest thing, and
yeah.
Because it's not.
So tell me. See, I've never read a romance novel.
Yeah.
So how movies have G, PG, PG-13, R, and then what's above R, like NC-17 or whatever, or mature, or what we would see on HBO. Game of Thrones would be. Yeah. So where do these books fall? If they were turned into a movie like that, what would their movie rating be?
Okay, they wouldn't be G, but I don't think that they'd really... I mean, they could be rated R, but it's like not PG-13.
Right,
but I wouldn't say that it's like straight up rated R. Like, if your mom wanted to read it, I'd be like, well, tell me about your mom first.
Oh, okay.
Like I had this guy that came up to me recently and was like, hey, so my wife heard that you were an author and she wants to read your books. And I said, well, tell me about your wife. What's her thing? Does she read books? And he's like, I don't know. And I was like, you're married to her? You don't know if she reads? I mean, and he was like, I said, well, is she super religious? Did cuss words offend her? These are two questions that I have.
That's a good way to gauge it, I guess.
And he's like, oh, yes, she's a very, like, Christian woman. I was like, my books are not for her.
Yeah.
Because if the F word is going to offend you, then you probably need to move on.
Yeah.
Because the F word, it's said in there a few times.
Oh, okay.
More than a few. And the sex scenes are somewhat descriptive, but we're adults.
Yeah.
So
in a book format, does it typically take a few chapters to build up to like a big scene?
So we had a book that was 130,000 words. And they didn't do it until the very end.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and it was a brother. It was one of the Bishop brother books. And so, I mean, you're talking about, you saw these characters for 350,000 plus words. And then finally at the very end of the book is when they got together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are scenes that are explicit. But if that's not for you and you still want a great story, you can skim over it.
Right.
But expect it.
You want to read the prologue?
Oh, yeah, we'll read the prologue.
Okay.
I'm going to show you how hard it is to be an audiobook narrator real quick.
How long is the prologue?
We're not going to read the whole prologue.
Okay.
We'll just read... Yeah, it's kind of long.
Yeah,
we'll just read the first...
Just give us a sample.
Yeah, we'll just read the first page. Okay. So here we go. Once upon a time in a Once upon a time in a faraway land lived a young princess who awaited a prince who would give her everything she ever dreamed of.
Oh, that's G-rated. That's totally G-rated.
Love, passion, loyalty. He'd be the sweetest, kindest, most heartwarming gentleman a girl could ask for, and he'd be perfect. Excuse me while I vomit. There is absolutely, positively no way that a man like that exists on this earth. I used to think he was, but of course I was proved wrong. I was young and naive and didn't know any better, and he was Travis King.
Oh.
Yeah.
I like how you flipped it around.
Yeah,
got me.
you like that?
Yeah.
Now you want to know more, huh?
It does. It makes me want to
Yep.
find out what
Pulls
happened.
you in.
Uh-huh.
Pulls you in. What's great is on Amazon or really iBooks, any of the places that you can find books, you can go and download like the first 10% of the book.
Mm-hmm.
So you can read the first chapter, or prologue, or whatever, and you can be like, oh yeah, I really like this. I want to continue reading. Or, oh, this really sucks. I'm glad I didn't spend $4 on it. You know?
Yeah, and it plays into real life because I can tell you from being a man, being out there, and in my dating as a teenager, dating in my 20s, dating in my 30s. The girls aren't looking for the nice guy that is the...
No, they want the bad boys.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, not the bad boys that are like smacking people around. We're talking about the bad boys that are like, hey, I might call you.
Yeah, girls are
I don't know.
Girls are attracted to confidence. They're
Yeah.
attracted to somebody that they have to pursue a little bit.
Yeah.
They don't want the guy that's just mushy and always available.
But
So-
always in the romance book, ladies, he's always mushy. He just doesn't show it at the beginning. He's broken. He's got some horrible past or something. And you know what? You rescue him and everything's great.
Yeah,
So,
and surely it's got to be a common question among your friends of how all of these books, as they progress, how does it transition into your real life and your marriage?
Oh,
You know,
God.
does it spice things up, or was it
No.
just, or is it like a completely different?
I've had people say, hey, my mom read your book and she wanted to know if it was your diary. And I'm like, no, it's not. And I've had people go to Will and be like, oh, are you the inspiration of her books?
Like, oh,
and
she-
you know
she
what his
a-
answer is? Yes. And I'm like, stop telling people that.
Will,
Like,
you need to stop
don't-
being like, she's a freak.
No. And so I'm like, no, guys, it's just imagination.
Yeah.
It's
It would be like if I wrote a fictional book, it would probably be about superheroes.
yeah, there you go.
Am I a superhero? No, I am not.
No,
And
you could be,
Yeah.
maybe in your own mind.
In my imagination. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's not. And in the Kennedy Fox books, I don't even really write the sex scenes.
Mm-hmm.
My partner does.
Yeah.
She's like, I guess I'll write the sex scene, and I'm like, I guess you will.
Yeah.
Because
And you kind of like the storyline, like when you were getting your inspiration from the historical marker and the
Yeah.
place you created all these stories from just things that you saw walking around.
yeah. She's very specific about how the characters get together. And
Oh, okay.
so I'm like, you've got this scene in your head already and it's going to be fantastic and I don't have to write it. So I'm totally happy with letting you do that.
Yeah.
So like the past, I don't know, 10 books, anytime you see a sex scene that's not like 2 pages long, she probably wrote it.
And have you ever ventured out of the genre, or do you think you will?
So I started off writing young adult.
And young adult would be more like, would it be Twilight?
Yeah, like
Okay.
Twilight. Yeah. So usually,
Huge Twilight fan.
Really?
Just movies though.
So-
not books.
are you an Edward or a Jacob?
Jacob, because I like the wolves.
Oh, there you go.
I really like vampires, but in that particular world,
Mm-hmm.
because there's many, and I'll nerd out for a little bit. There's many different vampire werewolf, and in some movies the vampires are the coolest.
Yeah.
And then in Twilight, the werewolves.
Oh,
are cool.
you're the team. I don't want him to sparkle. Okay.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Hey, so yeah, I have some
I like
friends.
I like the vampires from Blade.
I don't know what that is.
That was more of an action movie with Wesley Snipes.
I'm
and-
horrible with actors and movies.
Yeah.
You'll learn this. I'll tell Will
Right.
great plot points, and I'm like, what if I wrote a book and it's about this, this, and this? And he's like, sounds like this movie. And I'm like, okay, well, what if I wrote a book and this happened? He's like, oh, that's that movie. And I'm like, well, dang it, all the good ideas are already taken. But I'm glad I have somebody to vet them through. So.
Yeah. Like as the Twilight movies were coming out, I would hype up my daughter and like, hey, do you want to go see this with your friends? And I'll take you. And I guess. Or yeah. And I'm just sitting there like,
That's
Yeah.
so funny.
and the final one with the huge battle and the action scene, loved it. And then it was all a foreshadowing memory.
yeah.
Yeah. It got me shook.
I haven't seen those movies in so long.
Yeah. It's been a long
But I really did like them. Will refused to watch them with me. So I would wait until they came on DVD and then I'd be at home and be like, oh, yay, Twilight. You know?
Yeah.
So,
Well, what are your future plans? What do you?
Oh, so-
I guess you kind of already went into it. You're going to rewrite some of the books. That's
So
exciting.
I'm going to rewrite my backlist. There's 8 books that need to be rewritten. And then, you
So
know,
this is going to come out, or this podcast is going to come out this weekend. Should people buy your books or should they wait?
I would say wait. I tell, people are like, oh, hurry up and buy them. And I'm like, why when they're going to be better later? They're going to be removed. So you will not get the updated version. And I don't want people to pay for them twice. So I would just wait. Just go download a bunch of Kennedy Fox books and I'm good.
And that's just further proof that you're in it for creating quality content, not about the
Exactly.
money, because you're literally saying, don't buy my books,
Just
wait.
Don't buy Lyra Parish books.
Yeah,
Don't buy it. And I tell people that on YouTube. They're like, oh, I want to buy your books. And I'm like, don't buy them. Literally, they're dying on Amazon right now for a reason because I want them to be better. But the Kennedy Fox books, I'll tell people all day, I'm like, go download those books.
Yeah.
Those books are incredible.
Those are going to stay.
Those are staying.
Okay.
Yeah, those are not going anywhere.
Oh, right.
We've written 20 books together and we've got, 8 slated for next year. Help me.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot going on. In my world, my goal is to quit my job next year.
Oh, wow.
To pursue writing full time. It's gotten to a point where, for a while, my writing could have supported me. My writing partner, this is all she does.
Mm-hmm.
And it supports our family. And
Yeah.
so I could have quit my job a while back, but, insurance is expensive.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure that my health was on track before I did that.
Right.
But in 2020, I plan to quit my job. I've been pretty vocal about it. I joke with people at work and they think I'm joking. I don't joke. I say it jokingly, but I'm very serious, but they think I'm kidding. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll see next fall if I'm really here or not, And then, of course, Kennedy Fox, that's my main priority. It's basically all the writing I do, redoing my backlist. And then I want to write another young adult novel and pitch it to agents and try to get it traditionally published.
Oh, okay.
So then I would be what they consider a hybrid author. So you self-publish and you traditional publish as well.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah. And maybe you can even do something in the future where, you have a pretty good marketable skill as in accounting. So you could even do something part-time or consulting or something that might be able to...
I could, but,
If you get to that level that you described, though, then you really would.
This is the thing. I heard somebody talk recently and they were like, always bet on yourself. Always bet on yourself. You're going to be your number one fan. You're going to be the person who believes in you more than anybody else.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's at that point, I know next year that if I quit my job, I would be able to triple my income.
Yeah, and I bet this is what I would hope for you and what I would assume would probably happen is just imagine to what would happen to your quality of writing if from now
Right.
to knowing that this is your full-time, this is your life now, and it would just go to here. It would probably just launch.
I hope so. I mean, that's the goal. I can always go and get another job. I've got 10 years experience in refining. People will hire me off the street. They'll be like, oh, this girl, she's got a lot of experience. She's done all this stuff. I could update my resume and go get another job tomorrow. But it's if I don't take a chance on myself, if I don't take this risk, then I feel like when I'm 80 years old, I'm going to be like, I really regret that. When I was young and I was hireable and, I could have done anything in the world, why didn't I do that? And I don't want to live with regret. So
yeah, you would wonder what would happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's shoot your shot 2019.
Yeah, 2020. It's going to be a year to remember, I think.
Are you getting excited about the Roaring 20s? Because if you don't think I'm going to dress up like Gatsby every day, you got another thing coming.
Oh my God, you're going to have to start wearing a fedora for your live streams and stuff.
I'm excited.
Yeah. It's going to be awesome.
I think I found a New Year's Eve party in Houston to go to that's Gatsby themed, of course. Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. The Roaring 20s.
Right, yeah. The 2020.
Huh. It's weird. It's a little weird thinking about it. 2020.
Yeah. The whole numbering system is arbitrary anyways. We're all counting together, but the Earth is way older than 2,020 years old.
Right.
There's an astronomy calendar that you can actually buy that is dated
correctly.
Yeah. It's funny. I think I forgot where I saw it, but I was thinking about ordering one.
Might need to order one for Will.
Yeah, for sure.
So you'll be like, it's not 2020, it's
It's like
5
it's like
million.
20,020.
20,020.
Yeah. So tell everybody where they can find you on all the social media platforms, and then also for purchasing books,
Okay.
both physical and
Yeah.
online.
So you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. What other ones do I have?
And they should search for Lyra Parish.
Lyra Parish,
Mhm.
LYRAPARISH. That's my personal social media accounts. If you want to learn more about Kennedy Fox, it's Kennedy Fox Books. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all those things.
Yeah, and you're very interactive. So if you're curious, if this has sparked your interest in writing, get up in her comments and ask questions
Yeah.
and engage. There's probably going to be a day where you're not available enough to engage
Yeah.
with every single person.
Go to the Courtney Project. That's on YouTube. I seriously post so much stuff about writing and self-publishing. And, my goal is to not teach people how to write. Like, you have to learn that process yourself. You have to learn what works for you. My thing is I can kind of guide you what you need to do after you have that book written,
Yeah. So one of my good friends, he was my first episode actually, did a kind of an autobiography. Have you heard of Damon West?
No. I mean, I feel like I saw your podcast, but I didn't
probably
watch
so.
it.
But he's the only NCAA college quarterback to ever receive a life sentence in prison, and then get out early and become a motivational speaker and travel around to all the Division I colleges and tell his story and try to convince those young people not to go down the same path he did.
Yeah.
And he was able to write that first book and had tremendous success, and was able to partner with another, a more well-known motivational speaker
Yeah.
to write a second book.
Oh, that's cool.
And that one really took off. It was John Gordon that he partnered with on that second book. So that's been really fun to see. I was able to get him in pretty early before
Before he blew up big
yeah,
time.
Yeah, and I was kind of I said, Damon, I really want you to be my first episode, and I've got to get you in like now, because I just know this thing is going to take off and it's going
Yeah.
to blow up. And the book had just come out. I mean, I think he had a couple copies and gave me one and autographed it. And then I don't know if he's been home like at all. I mean, because he's traveling to all these different places, and I follow him on Facebook, and he's somewhere different every week and
Wow.
speaking at schools.
Hey, so maybe that's like everybody needs to come on your podcast because you're launching careers over here. So
I don't think it was me. I mean, it's a truly unique story.
Right.
It's one like you've never heard. There's scenes in the book that feel like they're out of Gone in 60 Seconds.
Oh, wow.
But he was, playing college football, got involved in drugs, and then created an organized crime ring of burglaries to support the drug habit.
I may
Yeah.
have some research questions. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. And,
that's-
and then somehow managed to survive prison.
Wow.
And then get out early, doing his own legal work himself.
That's crazy.
And he's gone from one side of the legal spectrum to the other. He just this past May received his master's degree from Lamar in criminal justice,
Wow.
and he's going to be teaching criminal justice at Lamar, or at University of Houston, actually.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So I
He
mean,
turned it around.
there's so many people that could get a life sentence in prison and just say, well, I'm done.
Oh, well, yeah. This is
and-
my life.
Yeah. So it's a truly unique story.
Wow, we're
Any-
writing an ex-convict series next year.
Oh yeah, that would be exciting.
It's so funny.
Some of those guys that are in prison love it. Like Charles Manson.
Oh my God, yeah, it's so weird.
What was the other one? The guy that they just made a movie about it. Ted Bundy was highly sought after by women because he had that look about him that was charming or something.
It's weird. No, our ex-convicts are getting out of prison,
Oh, and
and then they're falling in love.
they're getting back into the romance scene.
Yeah, spoiler alert. So, yeah, it's funny because I was telling somebody at a star party, it's an astronomy thing for you non-nerds out there. I was like, yeah, I'm trying to do research for our book next year about ex-convicts. He was all about this. He's like, okay, so tell me about these guys and all this stuff. And the entire week he was like, let's talk about this book some more. And I'm like, see, guys can like romance too. You're all about this.
Yeah.
Because I said something about how the guy was a mechanic, and he was like, well, I was a mechanic. And I'm like, really? I might have some research questions for you.
So do you enjoy the camping and the RVing to
Oh, yeah.
get inspiration for things?
Not really inspiration.
Or just getting away?
Just getting away. I call it a rightcation. So, because whenever we're off camping and Will's doing his astronomy thing, it's like I have this camper palace to myself. And,
Yeah, because
we're
typically he's outside.
He's
And
outside.
do you stay up all night when you do that?
Basically, yeah. He stays
Yeah.
up till like 4, 5, 6 a.m.
Right, because obviously the best observing is when it's dark. And
Exactly.
if you start observing when the sun goes down, well, that's only a couple hours for like a normal bedtime. So
Exactly.
I guess it's probably typical for star parties to stay up literally all night long.
Yeah, and for me, I'm a night owl. So it's like the sun goes down and
so you're up too. And
I'm ready to work. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're going to bust this out right now. So, I think I went on 2 different rightcations, as I'll call them, and I wrote 35,000 words in 1 week, and the next week I think I wrote 35,000 words too. So that's a full book. That's like this entire book right here in a 2-week period.
Yeah, 2017, myself and you guys were actually in Casper, Wyoming at the same time, but never ran into each other because there was hundreds of thousands of people that descended upon this small little mountain town for the total solar eclipse. And then we had a spectacular time trying to get home after all that.
Oh, I wouldn't know. We were in Yellowstone.
That was
Everybody
smart,
was going back to Denver, and we were going the other way.
Yes. All of Colorado was in Wyoming, and then some.
Yeah.
We're trying to drive back south.
One of our friends got stranded, basically. Well, not like stranded, but it was like evacuation traffic.
Yeah, it was.
And so he made it to his hotel at like 7 a.m. because he was staying in Colorado, and they were like, we gave your reservation away. And he was like, I just want to sleep for like 3 hours in the bed. And they were like, sorry, not happening.
Oh, goodness.
And he still had to pay for it.
Wow.
It's like, that's messed up.
Yeah, well, we won't have to travel very far in about 4 years.
2024.
It's coming to us.
Yeah.
And it'll be out there in the Texas Hill Country.
We've already got our camper spot.
I probably need to do that, yeah.
There's going to be so many people. It's going to be so hard. I mean, people were selling like just for you to pull into their property in Wyoming for like $400 a night.
Yeah, it was similar to that.
It was
Because
insane.
I tent camped on a ranch.
Yeah.
And that doesn't do that year round. They just have space. I think I paid $200 for a space of grass the size of this room, which is fine. It was for the weekend. If you equate it to hotel or something, it was totally fine. A beautiful piece of property on a hill. I mean, it was worth it for sure. So, but man, it was cold at night. Goodness. I was.
I wouldn't know. I was glamping, so.
That's right. And if you're at a star party, you have to use a red light if you go outside.
Oh, yeah.
You get fussed at.
I have to use red lights inside as well, because if Will comes in to get coffee, because I have what you call Court Bucks. It's the Courtney version of Starbucks while we're camping. I'm very basic.
Fall queen. We didn't talk
fall
about
queen. You've got the fall queen here.
Where did the fall queen come from?
So I love fall, and it's like really all I talk about all the time. I'm like,
you love Starbucks,
and I love Starbucks. So I'm literally that basic.
It
white
may be
girl.
like fall fashion and
the boots like Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Fall candles.
I love fall candles. Yeah.
Pumpkin spice.
Yes.
Everything basic rolled into one.
Right
giant.
here, you've got her, right in front of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the fall queen.
I think it's good that you own it.
I know that I am. It's okay. Like, we went to Colorado, and I'm like, Will, we're in the woods in Colorado. Can you please take a picture of me? And he's like, you are so annoying. That's why I bring my best friend, who's my Instagram boyfriend, with me, because he'll take photos. But I'm like, oh, look, the leaves are changing. Let's get out and take a photo with them. I'm that annoying person. And I know that I am, and it's okay. I've accepted it.
You got to use photos for content. I'm the same way.
Hey, that's right.
I went many places with a tripod because in a timer,
exactly.
What are you gonna do?
Exactly. I mean, come on.
There's only so many strangers that you can be like, hey, can you?
Oh no, I don't ask strangers.
Well, the pictures come out horrible. First of all, when you ask a stranger to do it.
Yeah, and what's cool now is like I have a Canon that I do my YouTube videos with. And it has an app on your phone, so you can literally like bring it with you and like take a picture from afar with your phone.
That's really good. Because for content creators, quality is important.
Absolutely.
Thank goodness now you could get away with doing it on your phone because the iPhones do record in high definition.
Yeah.
But recording with a Canon or a Sony just takes it to a whole nother level on the quality. If you look at all the famous influencers and content creators, they're all filming in high definition.
Yeah.
And maybe using separate audio. That way it sounds good. They're not
Right.
using audio to the camera itself.
Yeah, we have Rode mics on top of our cameras, and so
Yeah, those are good.
it does a really good thing. But like when I vlog, like if I'm just like on my channel, I've got like this burnout video where I talk about how I was burned out and I needed to go on vacation because I was like at the end of my rope. And that entire video was on my iPhone. I tell people, if you want to vlog, like your phone is perfect. And then if you decide that you like it, you want to keep up with it, then invest in a camera. But you've got the best camera in your pocket right now, one that you're going to use, your phone.
That's right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Let's wrap this up. I learned so much today. Is there anything else you want to leave the people with?
No, I think that's it. I think we covered it.
We did, yeah. Usually when I tell people to tell us where we can find yourself, I'm wrapping it up, but there's just so much information that I knew I could get up for you, so I kept on rolling. All right, guys. Well, catch up on Kennedy Fox books, available pretty much everywhere. Google Kennedy Fox, and big things coming soon for Lyra Parish, the second edition.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Touch me like you do.